This is Part 3 Episode 145. In a mere moment, Kia took the lead to finally reach that black knight emitting particles of purple color. These skeletons visibly became more powerful with the addition of the black knight. Kia's speed of advance was lowered, and the skeletons glinted in purple, becoming far more powerful than the previous skeletons, be it in offensive power or resistance. Kia had therefore to protect herself, as well as Long Houchen carried on her back, and couldn't advance prematurely. But even so, these purple skeletons were still decimated one by one in front of her sickle of the god of death, as she approached the Black Knight. The Black Knight had a purplish-black flame pulsing inside his eyes. His look was focused on Kia, slowly taking up the 5-meter-long spear hanging on his horse's saddle. This knight was over 3 meters tall, and that height reached over 4 meters with the addition of that mount, a skeleton horse extending over 2 meters. This was simply a giant compared to Kia. Purplish-black flames instantly rose on the top of his blazing spear, and the skeleton horse's front limbs were raised. Immediately the air in the scope of the purplish light became suddenly sticky. Kia felt clearly that her body became suddenly stagnant, and immediately, that myriad of purple dots of light gathered to the spear in his hand. In a flash of purple electric light, it was thrust at Kia like an electric shock. Powerful. In just one move, this Black Knight startled the whole bright glimmer of hope. The aura liberated by this guy clearly reached the standard of a powerhouse of the 9th step. Even if that was the initial stage of the 9th step, that was still quite a thing. What's more, from the interaction they had with the other holy guards, their strengths were definitely not limited to their ranking. They had all mastered martial techniques far above powerhouses of the same grade. Kia didn't dodge, as a comrade was at her back. Dodging would just make Zhong Fangfang bear the brunt. But right at this time, a golden shadow streaked across her side, turning entirely purple in the midst of its elevation. Myriads of streaks of thunder appeared, bombarding all directions. That was Sima Xian's purple thunder electric frenzy. Sima Xian was not assisting Kia in resisting the Black Knight's attack, but assisting her in disposing of the surrounding skeletons, so that she could focus wholeheartedly on the Black Knight. This was a sign of their trust in each other. They all believed that Kia would be able to deal with this attack of the enemy. If Long Houchen was the one confronting this attack of the Black Knight, he would without doubt stop it with the divine snail shield of sun and moon. But Kia wasn't Long Houchen. She didn't have such formidable defensive power, so if she just defended passively, there's no way she would stop this mighty attack, which reached the 9th step in power. As an assassin, her greatest force was her attack, so all she could do was to meet force with force. Her left feet abruptly treading forward, continuous overlapping images of Kia appeared behind her. The sickle of the god of death struck forward, a grey crystal condensing on its front end, precisely striking the dark purple glow. This instant, the air seemed to congeal as a strange scene came to view. The series of overlaying images on Kia's back abruptly flashed down again, and as she turned, similar to an illusion, uncountable overlaying Kia's took shape. Immediately, the sickle of the god of death in her hand lit up, and in the midst of its grey radiance, the Black Knight's purple glow was obliterated. The black skeletons surrounding Kia were all smashed away by the purple thunder, so only one enemy was standing in front of her at the moment. A large figure rushed upwards, that was Sima Xian. In the air, he followed after his energetic ball of light, his spiritual wings extended. The whole energetic ball of light was glinting in purple light, and Sima Xian's chest was shining in a scarlet-colored brilliance. Sima Xian's previous spot was already taken over by Yang Wenjiao, which didn't create any hole in the formation. Blocking the Black Knight's attack, Kia's face looked slightly pale, but she didn't pause. Her figure flashed, appearing in front of that Black Knight at rapid speed, practically the same as teleportation. But one must know that she was carrying Long Houchen on her back, yet this seemed not to affect her speed in the slightest. The spear in the Black Knight's hand flashed, immediately turning into a large shade shrouding Kia. In the meantime, a dark purple halo rippled from his body, only reaching a diameter of 10 meters, but rising from the ground with a solidified feel. The darkness essence in this 3rd floor of the Tower of Eternity immediately rushed forth to him. This felt a bit close to Long Houchen's night ability storing power, except that Long Houchen needed to remain unmoving to use it, while the Black Knight didn't suffer this restriction. As long as his body would remain in the area of this halo, the storing power would persist, making his fighting strength even more terrible. Kia acted as if she didn't see all of it. In front of his myriad spear strikes, Kia's body suddenly turned illusory, and all the illusory images were shattered by the spear strikes. Her real body appeared behind the Black Knight. The sickle of the god of death became ready to strike then, aiming right at the Black Knight's back. The Black Knight didn't turn back, because he was far too late. The back of his spear approached, pointed toward the sharp end of the sickle of the god of death. Kia's body shook violently. It was natural that she had no way to compare with the enemies in spiritual energy. But a whole piece of that black spear was sliced by her sickle of the god of death. And more terrible, a multiple-layered blade projection came out like a lotus flower from the sickle of the god of death. It shrouded that Black Knight all the way from behind, giving him no opportunity at all. The Black Knight was also a tough opponent. Making prompt decisions, he squatted down from the horse and abruptly dashed forward, as a dark purple shield made of energy appeared behind him. The sickle of the god of death really had a terrifying offensive power. In a mere second, that shield of energy was crushed and disappeared, but that managed to stall some time for Black Knight. Turning, the spear in his hand was swept horizontally. Bang! With a stuffy groan, Kia's body was immediately swept back. It wasn't that she didn't think of dodging, but she couldn't at all. The instant of that Black Knight's move, all the surrounding air congealed, and her speed dropped greatly. This very moment, a violent surge of thunder rumbled. Nearby came down a purple pillar of light, rushing straight toward the Black Knight. Simazyan's godly purple thunder cannon was done gathering power since long ago, and was only waiting for the Black Knight to show a gap. And he was not the only one making a move. A resonant phoenix cry was concealed in the midst of the bombardment of thunder. The phoenix of blue fire lifted itself high and dashed at the Black Knight behind the purple thunder. Simazyan and Linshin were using their full power. Purple godly thunder cannon and phoenix of blue fire were their strongest attacks. Bright glimmer of hope wouldn't let a single person fight alone. Kia having drawn the Black Knight's attention, their attacks displayed the greatest efficiency. Linshin's phoenix of blue fire had an enormous change compared to 2 years ago. First, it was much smaller in volume, and didn't reach 2 meters even with its 2 wings unfolded, looking just like a large bird. But, this phoenix of blue fire was much prettier than before. With no flames rising around its body, it looked like a perfect sculpture of crystal. 3 pretty tail feathers were undulating on its back, standing out even in the midst of the pretty hairs all over its body, making it feel just like a living creature. Its eyes were glinting brilliantly, filled with intense flames. This Black Knight was really powerful. Flying past Kia to confront the incoming attack, he suddenly jumped from the bone horse's back, raising his upper body and blowing a dark purple flame, which turned into a shield in front of him. But how could this dark purple fire possibly resist Simazyan's gigantic ball of light, wielded alongside the evolved spiritual stove of godly purple thunder? The shield was instantly crushed, and the attack from the spiritual stove of godly purple thunder bombarded the skeleton horse. Immediately, the skeleton horse let out a loud sound as if clashing against the opposite wall and producing a large bang. As the Dark Knight was knocked back, the horse's head and half its body were reduced to shreds, the Dark Knight naturally getting thrown down as a result. Against the panther demon god Angzer, Simazyan had managed to fend off the enemy using this purple godly thunder cannon, and that was when the latter was in his demon god transformed form. Neither the Black Knight nor its mount could compare with that panther demon god in strength, so naturally they couldn't stop this blow. However, the skeleton horse's sacrifice was not futile at all. Although it was reduced to pieces in the explosion, this blocked a great part of the purple godly thunder cannon's attack strength, and only some aftermath landed on the Black Knight. But purple light lingered in the knight's whole body, slightly reducing its speed. And at this time came Linshin's blue fire phoenix. A resonant phoenix cry finally resounded in the whole 3rd floor of the Tower of Eternity, as the knight fell to the ground, pointing his spear forward to shoot a spear projection at the blue fire phoenix's head in an attempt to destroy it. But the blue fire phoenix suddenly became stagnant in mid-air, abruptly turning into a blue light in the air and instantly disappearing. This was a needle-sized blue light, which took a flash to pierce through the Black Knight's spear. The Black Knight clearly sensed the immense threat. As it let out a shrill, an intense purple light rose around his body, where all the darkness aura gained in substance. A ball of dark color, wrapped in purple, lit up on his chest. His body came to a standstill, and as the purple light curled up, he seemed just like a sculpture which had been standing for a long time. This was clearly a technique of passive defense, quite close to divine obstruction. The next instant, the power of the spiritual stove of blue fire phoenix flared up. The spear in the Black Knight's hand melted from the tip, and the blue color extended at a frantic speed, reaching its arm in the blink of an eye. Just looking at that Black Knight's spear and right arm, one could shockingly see all of it vaporizing under the blue light, leaving not a single trace behind. And the blue light kept extending through its body, locking onto that purplish-black ball on the skeleton's chest, and clashing intensely. The blue fire phoenix was just too powerful. That terrifying temperature already caused twists in the nearby air. Although that black ball made it stop, the Black Knight's right arm still dissolved swiftly, up to the chest. And this time, a sharp flash of grey swang at the Black Knight's back. The incarnation of death, that had appeared priorly, then shot a grey ray into the sharp flash of grey. The flash of grey caused the purplish-black ball to shatter in response, at the same time as the left side of the Black Knight's body. The blue fire phoenix, having nothing to stop it anymore, immediately extended at an astonishing speed, igniting that Dark Knight's whole body thoroughly in the blink of an eye. A purplish-black flame extricated from the Black Knight's head, and a quite sharp voice resounded, "Eighth Holy Guard, listening to your orders." As these words came to an end, he turned into a purple glow, disappearing inside the eternal melody hanging on Kia's neck. The whole process from the start of the battle to its end wasn't very long. Even Kia herself didn't expect that they would actually vanquish this Eighth Holy Guard so easily. Without a doubt, the greatest contributors in this battle were Sima Xian and Lin Xin. Purple Godly Thunder Cannon and the Phoenix of Blue Fire were the greatest contributors in disposing of this Knight of Darkness. Kia herself didn't get to show a display of her full power at all. Along with the death of the Black Knight, the surrounding world of darkness immediately distorted, and those black skeletons also disappeared in these twists. When the surroundings became more clearly visible, they found out that they were now in an extended pathway. This place was a bit similar to the first floor of the Tower of Eternity, except that the surrounding pillars were all black. Afar off, a drizzling white curtain of light came to sight. Kia took a deep breath and nodded to Lin Xin and Sima Xian. Right now, the two of them were already sitting cross-legged. Sima Xian was better off, as he had the Scarlet Dragon armor to weaken the backlash of the spiritual stove of godly purple thunder on his body. It was just his spiritual energy that was rather used up. But Lin Xin was not so well off. His spiritual stove of blue fire phoenix gained a much greater might than before, but it also made the backlash even stronger, and the consumption of spiritual energy considerable. As a reminder, they were facing a powerhouse of the 9th step, but even this Black Knight of the 9th step was melted in front of his blue fire phoenix. This was his strongest attack, actually far more powerful than Vulcan's finger. If it were not to gain as much time as possible to save Long Houchen, this wasn't a move he would use casually. Sima Xian said to Kia, "Vice Captain, don't worry about the two of us. Now that we have passed through this trial, this place is already safe. Just keep advancing with the others, we will be joining after recovering a bit." Only light attribute users or Kia's death attribute would be able to recover their spiritual energy in the Tower of Eternity. The other individuals would be unable to rely on the elemental essence in there and need to use magical crystals. Right now, Lin Xin was holding a fire magical crystal of the 8th step in each hand, rapidly recovering his spiritual energy. These were not magical crystals coming out from demons, but magical beasts, because only that way can it be devoid of darkness attributes. Keep advancing. Kia nodded to the others, and took the lead to enter in those white curtains, out of place with the rest of the world made of darkness. Yang Wenjiao and Duan Yi currently had some feelings of astonishment. Although their cultivation also reached the 7th step, they understood clearly in the previous battle that every member of Bright Glimmer of Hope was far stronger than them. But as one must know, they used to stand as the central pillar of their respective teams, and stronger by a considerable gap compared to the rest of their team. But in front of the members of Bright Glimmer of Hope, all they could do was to resist some of the skeleton soldiers, and because their injuries were not healed completely, even the mere act of resisting against the black skeletons felt strenuous. By contrast, amongst Bright Glimmer of Hope, the main offense was ensured by Kia, Sima Xian, and Lin Xin, whose joint attack could even kill a powerhouse of the 9th step. And that was an overwhelming kill, as that Black Knight was not given the slightest chance to display his strength before being killed in their hands. Long Houchen and Kia's strength aside, even Lin Xin and Sima Xian were already so powerful. The powerful attacks they just used were even totally unheard of by Yang Wenjiao and Duan Yi. But it was a fact that the matching of Kia and these two managed to defeat the Black Knight effortlessly. Actually, this was mainly due to the dominance of their equipment plus the launch of their full-force greatest attack. In what looked like a short battle, Lin Xin and Sima Xian had been going all out and using their trump cards. The Holy Guards in this Tower of Eternity was certainly powerful, but they all had a common weak point, their equipment. Simply speaking, If that Black Knight was clad in Long Houchen's golden foundation armor, they may not necessarily have ended up victorious even by spending 10 times more time. Kia's sickle of the god of death was a divine tool, and Sima Xian's energetic ball of light reached the epic tier. No one in Bright Glimmer of Hope didn't have at least a weapon of the legendary tier. The white curtains of light were in front of their eyes. Going through the Black Knight's trial didn't mean that they had already cleared the 3rd floor of the Tower of Eternity. Based on the previous 2 floors, they had only cleared half of the trials on this floor. And the later trials would only keep increasing in difficulty. Only more cruel fights were awaiting them. After Kia stepped out and entered the white curtains of light, Zhong Fangfang, Wang Yuanyuan, and Chen Yinga followed. Stepping through the white curtains, everyone couldn't help but cough lightly, because the air behind was just far too different, making an overwhelming difference. Previously, they were in a world of absolute darkness, but at that moment, what came to their sight after passing through the white curtains was an incomparably intense holy aura. The surrounding darkness was already non-existent, replaced by a boundless holy light. The pillars coming to sight on the 2 sides were identical, but spread out a golden gloss filled with holiness. The ground was also entirely gold-colored, with elegant designs extending all over. Although Yang Wenjiao was a retribution knight, he didn't charge out. With his wounds having yet to heal up, if this enemy was even stronger than the previous one, him charging would have no use at all. Wang Yuanyuan followed, charging alongside Kia. A fierce reek of blood instantly leapt behind her, and one could faintly see a red glow shoot up, turning into an illusory image with the same appearance as Wang Yuanyuan. Wang Yuanyuan's murderous spirit was greatly different from Kia's. Kia's murderous spirit was full of a deathly aura, while Wang Yuanyuan's murderous spirit was permeated with a bloody aura. One was originally an attribute of the user herself, while the other one was produced through incessant slaughter. The 2 murderous spirits seemed to complement each other. Under their full power, this brilliance rooted in a brilliance rooted in an extreme holiness. The light mage made his move, his body launching itself aloft the instant Kia's group started charging. A golden staff appeared in his hand. Pointing it forward, it oscillated with wave-like golden ripples coming from it. Having Long Houchen on her back, Kia was unable to immediately enter the state of invisibility. But she was the fastest of all Bright Glimmer of Hope. She was already accelerating quickly the instant she charged, and was able to close the distance to the light elemental mage below 200 meters in just 2 flashes. But after she approached closer than 100 meters, that soft light halation blocked her. Feeling a kind of gauze on her, Kia found out upon contact with the golden halation that her speed plummeted completely and she was completely bound. Like that, her movement was in slow motion. A grey radiance filled with dense murderous instant immediately burst out from the sickle of the god of death. A divine tool was a divine tool, and immediately the light magic of unknown name ruptured in front of the tyrannical sickle of the god of death. As Kia was moving forward and prepared to keep charging, that ruptured golden light coiled around her body. Wang Yuanyuan faced the same issue as Kia. The 2 of them were about 100 meters from the light mage, and found it difficult to keep charging at him. A twisting radiance swept across at this time, charging straight at the light mage. It was the demonic Eye Commander. That light mage slowly lifted up his head while emitting powerful soul waves. Under his cloak, one could see a pair of pulsing golden flames in his eyes. The demonic Eye Commander's psychic attack had yet to reach out, as it was repulsed by that powerful soul force. It didn't manage to bring the slightest injury to this light mage. Waving once again his staff, he continued a downcast chant. Immediately, a few knights appeared on Kia and Wang Yuanyuan's side. Due to the unknown spell used by this light mage earlier, a golden halo blocked their way, stopping them from advancing any further. This is the spell of the 9th step, Divine Binding. Yang Wenjiao shouted suddenly, but wasn't this spell long since lost? How could it appear here? Damn it, it's even instacast. A spell of the 9th step, and without even the use of any incantation. That was something close to the level of forbidden spell, so no wonder they would be stopped still. If that was just a spell of the 8th step, Kia absolutely would not, by any means, be stopped so thoroughly with the sickle of the god of death in her hand. The light mage's incantation was ongoing, and everyone knew that if it completed, the group would hardly manage to resist it. A mage's offensive power is far above a warrior's, especially this light mage that appeared right after the Black Knight. Don't get wrong thoughts, because of the extremely cozy feeling of light aura, this trial is surely a lot more challenging than the previous one. And most of all, how could they break through divine binding? This time, Kia suddenly called out, Yuan Yuan. Wang Yuan Yuan, who entered through the curtain of light about the same time as Kia exchanged looks with her the instant she heard her call, filled with tacit understanding. Although Kia just had her memories recovered, the memories she had gained after her amnesia were not raised by the past ones, but merged thoroughly, so their mutual understanding still had yet to disappear. 1, 2. Kia started to count in a slow motion. Her look was on that light mage from beginning to end. Except for Yang Wenjiao and Du Enyi, the rest of bright glimmer of hope was visibly calm and stopped charging at the protective barrier. That was mutual understanding, without even need for Kia to say anything, they all understood her aim. 3. Go! Kia shouted. As watched in shock Yang Wenjiao and Du Enyi's, the silver light on Wang Yuan Yuan amplified greatly, and the next instant she disappeared, only to reappear in front of the light mage. Orange and scarlet colors interweaved in Bloodstorm, bringing an incomparable burst of bloodlust. A pitch-black crack appeared in a flash in front of the light mage, the innate ability of Bloodstorm, Dimensional Storm. In fact, now that Bloodstorm had reached the epic tier through incessant slaughters, its might was as different from the time before as sky and earth. In front of that intense light essence, it launched instant cuts. The terrifying Dimensional Storm produced humming sounds upon contact with that defensive spell of the 9th step, and the space inside was torn into countless chips. This was Wang Yuan Yuan's long-prepared strike, a perfect match between Bloodstorm and the spiritual stove of spatial gates. Extreme offensive power, but most of all, complete unexpectedness. The power of the spiritual stove of spatial gates is to open a gate towards another spot within sight, and enable Wang Yuan Yuan to teleport there. Unlike a rapid movement, she just has to be able to see the spot to be unhindered by any obstacles during this teleportation. Don't underestimate the spiritual stove of spatial gates, just because it does not come from a fusion of other spiritual stoves. Through Wang Yuan Yuan's long period of slaughters, this spiritual stove had evolved 3 times, giving it a great range, number of uses, and stability of teleportation. The light mage was visibly quite panicked. He visibly did not expect these opponents to break through his defensive spell of the 9th step in such a manner. And just because of his absolute confidence in divine binding, he had dared so brazenly incantate a powerful offensive spell. As long as this spell was completed, he had the confidence that it would wipe out all the humans in front of his eyes. But Wang Yuan Yuan's sudden arrival completely cut off his train of thoughts. That terrible dimensional storm engulfed with terrible bloodlust left him helpless, with no choice but to cut off his spell close to completion. With a stuffy groan, he drew back while releasing an intense bright light from his hand, hindering dimensional storm's arrival. The attack was blocked, but that staff in his hand shattered instantly, and because of that, divine binding was removed, letting Kia lead the group on another charge. The light mage was really exceptional. While drawing back in such an unfavorable situation, he pointed his hand toward the nearest Wang Yuan Yuan, causing a golden halation to rise from under her feet, releasing holy light binding. This was a light elemental control spell of the 7th step. Even while under the effects of the previous chance backlash, he still made this instant cast, showing his degree of understanding toward light magic. In the meantime, his body abruptly shifted back, and a formidable scene arose. What seemed to be the sculpture of Elux on the edge of the stage shifted backwards alongside him, trying as far as possible to increase the distance. In the meantime, he kept chanting at an increasingly fast speed. Flapping the spiritual wings on her back, Kia came chasing like a grey lightning bolt, tracing a clean cut with the sickle of the god of death in her hand. Mags undoubtedly had highly rated offenses, but their defensive power and attack were inversely proportional. The suddenness of Wang Yuan Yuan's attack was a very key factor. Although her attack didn't succeed, it managed to pierce through divine binding, and terminated his spell on the verge of being completed. Kia's previous counting was a timer before the light mage's incantation would complete, so that Wang Yuan Yuan would interrupt it the instant before its termination. A spell's backlash is an extremely dangerous thing to happen. If a mage spell is interrupted during its preparation, it will very possibly backlash, and this backlash grows the more powerful this spell is. In particular, this backlash also becomes all the more powerful the closer to completion the spell was. Even if this light mage was even more of a tough opponent, he had after all just sustained a backlash of highest grade, and had yet to find the time to recover his breath. Kia had no plans to let him complete any spell of a high grade. But, to her surprise, this light mage's speed went even beyond her estimation. When her sickle of the god of death was about to land, another of his spells was completed. As the holy light took shape, the sickle of the goddess of death abruptly paused, and immediately, a powerful force burst out. This formidable force was close to irresistible. Filled with the radiance of light, but also containing an unquestionable impact force, it didn't cause any damaging effects, but even Kia's sickle of the god of death was unable to disperse this soft-looking holy light. This spell bears the name of Holy Offering, able to ignite the light mage's own life as a fuel. And from the looks of it, his soul fire was the very one thing to be ignited. Although he was no more than the holy guard guarding this place, he had his own pride, and would in no way let himself be defeated so easily. The use of Holy Offering alone managed to push his opponents back, giving him some time for incanting, so he still felt confident in defeating these humans. Right as Kia wrinkled her eyebrows and already felt unable to win any longer against this light mage, a mystifying feeling suddenly surged out from her. A soft orange radiance revolved around her body, and dispelled the white light from Holy Offering sticking against Kia's body, and caused that previously irresistible force to disappear completely. Right as Holy Offering made its way, everyone from Bright Glimmer of Hope found out with astonishment that this orange radiance was coming out from Long Houchen's left arm. Its imposing luster and the quality of its holy light was one grade above Holy Offering, suppressing it at once. Kia had no idea what just happened, but with her ample combat knowledge, how could she let go of such a good opportunity? In a flash of light, countless figures of Kia took this opportunity and made their way forward, surrounding that light mage. And myriad images of the sickle of the god of death sent the light mage in the middle away at once. Myriad image strikes. After awakening as the one chosen by the god of death, Kia's original 1,000 strikes spiritual stove got an improved attack. Although it was now part of the spiritual stove of Samsara, Kia had already acquired all the knowledge in comprehending and using it through her constitution, as a god's chosen one, making its attack far more powerful than before. Making use of Holy Offering was already the light mage's last card. If he did not even manage to stall for any time, then even his other most powerful secret arcana from ancient times would be of no use. Among ear-piercing breaking sounds, the light mage disappeared and turned into a streak of golden light pouring into Kia's eternal melody. In the meantime, came out a resounding voice calling, "The seventh holy guard pays allegiance to you." Nimbly landing on the ground, Kia's eyes still had a hazy look. Unconsciously she looked towards her own neck, at the arms of Long Houchen being carried. Tears immediately moistened her eyebrows. That was the divine snail shield of sun and moon, the previous orange radiance was characteristic of it. In an abrupt turn, Kia looked at her comrades, and called out loudly, "Did you all see? He's not dead. Houchen is alive. He will surely come back to us, there's no doubt." Reaching this point, her arms tightly held Long Houchen's arms, her whole body violently shaking. No one knew why the divine snail shield's power had erupted. With Long Houchen already dead, he couldn't be the one who activated it. But the brilliance from the divine snail shield gave them extreme confidence, as if Long Houchen's death was not a thing that had happened. Since their entrance to the Tower of Eternity, there had passed less than half an hour from beginning to end, and they had already gone through 2 gates, and were reaching the end of the 3rd floor. All Bright Glimmer of Hope's strength manifested without doubts. In fact, the guardians they had to face were all powerhouses of the 9th step. Even if that's only the beginning of the 9th step, they still reached it thoroughly. As a matter of fact, it was with a great self-confidence that Long Houchen had brought his comrades deep into demon territory. Don't give a hasty judgment, just because all members of Bright Glimmer of Hope only reached the 5th rank of the 7th step in cultivation. They all had spiritual stoves, powerful equipment, and great talent, making them no worse than ordinary powerhouses of the 8th step. If not for the fact that they had met an unmatchable enemy such as the Demon God Emperor, and had fallen in his trap, they would have had plenty of opportunities to escape even in the most desperate straits. It was already too late to comment on the matter. Long Houchen was already dead, but in this last hope of resurrection, every demon hunter from Bright Glimmer of Hope displayed their own radiance. Maybe this demon hunt squad remained extremely powerful even without Long Houchen, but without him, Bright Glimmer of Hope had lost its very soul. With much difficulty, Kia repressed her surging feelings. Everyone take a rest and retrieve some spiritual energy. The way to the upper floor opened, lit by the sculpture of Elux in front of it. Just by treading into this pillar, they would enter the 4th floor of the Tower of Eternity. But this time, no matter how hasty Kia was, this could not be more pressing than letting the group recover some strength. The group hadn't gotten a lot of rest since the start of the mission in Modu. The trials of the 3rd floor being this hard, what would follow in the fourth floor could only get even harder. How could they pass through the trials in the fourth floor without an ample rest? No mistake is allowed when honing your own knife. The best solution to maximize their chances in the next challenges was to be in the best condition for them. Lin Xin and Sima Xian were also called out there. The second portion of the third floor was full of holy aura, assisting them greatly in recovering spiritual energy. Even the fire user Lin Xin had a much easier time cultivating in a world of light essence compared to a world of darkness essence. Yang Wenjiao and Duan Yi were seated at the back, glancing at each other. They both discerned great shock in each other's eyes. Being excellent figures of the younger generation of the Night Temple, they had already lost all suicidal thoughts after being cursed so harshly by Long Haochen. They even originally thought that even if Long Haochen and Kia were far beyond them, they should still be at least a bit stronger than the others. But now it seemed that these thoughts were clearly mistaken. From the display of strength showed by all Bright Glimmer of Hope's members, even if the two of them joined hands, they may not necessarily even prevail over any one of them. However, Yang Wenjiao and Duan Yi didn't show signs of dispiritedness, but instead had their fighting spirits greatly stimulated by that. Their wounds still had yet to recover for now, but they had already made their resolve. No matter what, they had to put effort into cultivation to grow as powerhouses. As Long Haochen said, there is not only one divine throne. At least 3 more divine thrones were there for them to contest over. This period of rest was rather long, taking no less than a whole hour, after which everyone successively opened their eyes. Aside from Lin Xin, who was still sustaining the effects of backlash of the spiritual stove of Blue Fire Phoenix, the others were already back to their peak state. Even Lin Xin would have no problem using his full-powered magic, as long as he would not activate his spiritual stove. Carrying Haochen on her back, Kia stood up, still quite pale-looking. Mysteriously, the incarnation of death she had previously materialized had not disappeared all this time, floating in mid-air from beginning to end. And after defeating the 7th Holy Guard, this shadow seemed to become all the more clear. Even the others from Bright Glimmer of Hope could only make some guesses, that this should be an ability exclusive to the one chosen by the God of Death, but they had no idea about the details regarding it. This was something Kia had never showed use of in the past. Kia declared, in the 3rd floor of the Tower of Eternity, we have been confronting the trials of the 12th to 7th Holy Guards. It can be seen from their numbering that we have 6 more Holy Guards to face off next. From this 3rd floor on, the Holy Guards will have already reached the 9th step in strength, and the next trials will only be even more challenging. The elements we have already encountered are fire, water, wind, earth, darkness, and light, all 6 of the great elements. The most powerful ones were darkness and light. The rarer attributes such as spatial attributes have yet to appear, but even if they are all added up, it doesn't make a total of 6. So we will very possibly face some Holy Guards of the same elements as the previous ones next. I will be the main attacker next, and Yinga, prepare yourself to take part in the 4th floor. If possible, you will be our main power in passing through the 4th floor's trials, so that we can directly enter the 5th floor. Yes. Chen Yinga agreed with no hesitation, nodding to Kia. She had been wholly unable to take part in the battles of the 3rd floor, and was still in top form, as well as the most unexhausted in the group. But she's also a God's chosen one, and Saint's spiritual daughter is not just a name. In some particular situations, her strength and utility surpassed even Long Haochen and Kia. Their silhouettes stepped into the light, disappearing, and quietly faded away. 4th floor of the Tower of Eternity. This was an empty space, contrasting with the tides of skeletons on the first part of the 3rd floor. Upon entering the 4th floor, the surroundings were absolutely empty. Just like in the 1st floor, a sculpture looking like Elux was visible far away. Chen Yinga advanced to Kia's side, and asked in low voice, "Can I get started?" Kia nodded. A summoner's casting time is generally the longest, so getting started now, while the enemy had yet to appear, would give her the most plentiful time. Chen Yinga directly sat down at her current spot, with the little pig McDull jumping from her arms. A soft incandescent radiance was emitted from her body, while all the spiritual pellets on her saint's spiritual robe lit up. As her incantation went on, Chen Yinga gradually floated from the ground. The saint's spiritual robe let out a magnificent brilliance, making it appear as if all the magical beasts on it came to life. Intense waves of spiritual energy ascended above her at an astonishing speed. Yang Wenjiao gazed dazedly at Chen Yinga. This instant, he felt like he couldn't recognize his own fiancée at all. What about the little girl who used to always hide behind his back? She actually became this strong already. At this very moment, the spiritual waves spreading from Chen Yinga visibly reached the 8th step's threshold, and moreover, were gaining in strength at a massive speed. Although Yang Wenjiao was unaware of what kind of magic Yinga was using, she had clearly already surpassed him in strength. A feeling of loss came out relentlessly from his chest, and a bitter taste filled his mouth. From the look of it, he really had to persevere with all the more efforts. Right at this time, 2 radiances appeared simultaneously. These were 2 immense pillars, both of which measured over 5 meters. On a blue and a red pillar of light, 2 tall skeletons appeared, intense soul fires pulsing in their eyes. Souls of powerhouses. Could there be 2 holy guards appearing at once this time? The expressions on the group's faces changed at once. From these 2 pillars, one could tell that they were fire and ice element users, just like the 2 holy guards who were assigned to the first floor. But the difference was that they had just appeared together. And without a doubt, they surely had cultivations above the 2 holy guards from the 3rd floor. Facing a powerhouse of the 9th step, and facing 2 of them were completely different things. Their addition will surely not be a matter of 1 + 1, but something way over that. Moreover, these 2 were 1 close-range warrior and 1 mage. And opposite of the 11th and 12th holy guards, the fire elemental skeleton was a mage, clad in a scarlet gown, and the ice guard was a warrior, clad in ice blue armor, and with a huge ice blue sword in each of its 2 hands. They were very clearly attracted by Chen Yinga's incantation. This floor looked empty, but the presences of the 2 testing them seemed to fill it up with immeasurable pressure. As the pillars of light vanished, the ice warrior's figure flashed out, carrying an unbearable pressure as it dashed at Kia's group. The fire mage lifted its staff high, and murmured incantations. One could clearly see 2 regions of red and blue in front of the group, quite distinct, and throwing a massive pressure on them. Right at that time, everyone had the same thought, thinking, if only Captain was there immediately. The sword in his left hand was raised, unleashing a 1-meter-long ice blade projection, aimed at Bright Glimmer of Hope's group. More shockingly, after completing this blow, Lin Xin's large fireball was repelled by his right sword, thrown afar before exploding. The look on Lin Xin's face changed. While releasing a half-moon-shaped projection, the Ice Warrior had just actually cut the link between his spell and him, preventing the fireball from exploding immediately. The ice-colored half-moon projection traveling above the ground didn't grow in size like it would normally, but as the attack came, the nearby temperature plummeted frantically. Lin Xin swiftly strode forward, arriving behind Han Yu. An intense blue fire surged out from him as the light in his eyes flickered. Immediately, a large canopy of blue flames attached itself to Han Yu's body, giving him the looks of a god of fire. Lin Xin was naturally not the only one to make a move. Zhong Fangfang, Yang Wenjiao and Duan Yi all brandished their weapons at the same time, producing glints of gaudy holy light intercepting that ice attack. The attack they launched was extremely clever. Blade projections came out from their weapons, and their connection was immediately cut off to avoid sustaining backlash from the pulling force on the air. That ice-colored blade projection nevertheless had an irresistible force, showing no weakness. The bombardment of blade projections could only cause it to disperse some icy fog, but without showing any trace of weakening. When the ice-colored half-moon arc blade looked like it was about to smash Han Yu, flashes of intense light came from his left and right side. The left side was silver-colored, while the right side was purple-colored. Wang Yuan's divine soul shield launched space-splitting sortie, while Sima Xian used the godly purple thunder cannon. These 2 heavy bombarding attacks were really powerful. In the midst of intense rumbles, that ice-colored half-moon arc strike was split, before coming to a stop. Han Yu then used shield bouncing to scatter the remnants of the ice blade. This video will end here.